You are now listening to the Basic and Boujie podcast. And we're live.
We're live. So before we get into this and, production gets mad at me, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell.
Yes.
That's it.
We're a rock star.
All right.
That's YouTube.
We're going to start
when
with
you
a
have that
shot.
sign on. Yes, we're going to start with a shot. It's a good show.
Yes.
Cheers. Cheers. See how we switch it up for our professional guests?
Mm-hmm.
And the lightweight can't finish the whole shot. Melanie.
Jesus.
Diablo. This is 2 shots, Mel.
Oh, was I the
Hold
only
on.
one that finished that?
No, I finished.
Good job. Strong work.
And I need the thingy.
Water.
Water.
Okay, this was too far. This was my idea and it went bad.
This was her idea.
The lightweight.
All the faces that are going to come out.
No. And then our drink of the day is, what is this? Pineapple, Malibu, and pineapple juice.
Yeah, like a Bahama Mama, I think.
Mm-hmm.
As per your request.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I can't taste the alcohol because
The
I
lightweight.
don't like to taste alcohol.
Oh, good, because that's why I'm like good, because I have pineapple flavored Malibu.
See, it covers like everything.
You don't know that there's alcohol.
And then
in
you
here.
just keep putting ice and just keep drinking.
That's good.
Okay. It's not a margarita, I know, but.
That was show one.
That was so 2 months ago. So we'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Damaris Rodriguez. I am a licensed couples therapist, relationship coach, and a certified sex therapist.
Boom, boom, boom.
So I've been working with couples for over 21 years, helping them to get unstuck from their relationship problems so that they can design a life where they feel loved, where they feel seen, where they feel understood, and of course the delicious cherry on top where they can have delicious mind-blowing orgasms together.
That's right. That's what it's about. Applause.
So if any kids are listening,
This is
Ooh.
not for
Natalie,
you.
Parents,
turn it off.
turn it off. I curse. I give explicit details.
Yeah. Maybe we should air this episode after dark.
Yes, 8 p.m. and over, like when the babies are done.
This is a special episode.
Listen, by now you know this is not a kid-friendly show, so.
It is not.
And neither of us have children
All
here.
child-free by choice.
choice.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
So we're not thinking about our kids when we record this.
No, I'm sorry.
All right, so I guess I'll start. I had questions from my married friends, people that have been together for a couple years, kids, no kids. The number one question I got was, how much sex should they be having?
Oh, I got that same question.
You got that same one
I got the
too?
same question.
It's very popular.
Okay, the infamous how much. On average,
What's
find
healthy?
on average we find that healthy couples have sex once a week.
Once a week?
Once a week.
Really? Well, I would
50,
think more.
54 times
I
a
would've said
year.
like 3.
Yeah.
54 times.
On average. On average.
Oh my gosh, that seems like so little.
So yeah, like don't go crazy where I'll have a lot of couples will say, yeah, like how come we're not having sex every day? Why are we not having sex like in the beginning where it was like 2 times a day? All of that has changed like when things kind of like, you get comfortable with each other, life settles in. On average, we're looking at that. Like I always tell my couples don't let more than a couple weeks because then I'm
Go by,
asking
right.
what's going on. Like is there stress, is work or
Right.
kids, but what's going on that you're not at least making time minimum once a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Once a week.
Interesting.
I guess with kids and all that, you have to factor that in. Like once a week, that's not enough. But
How would you prefer?
I would say like 3 times, at least 3 times a week would be good
I
for
would
me.
say
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. For me, every other day it would be a perfect balance. Like,
Yeah, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once a week. That's so sad. Is that
Surprising,
what
right?
Is that like because of kids?
So is that
So
why
that
we're like,
hasn't
what?
been checked. Like
Okay.
the child-free couples have not been represented.
Right, like do they
Those-
have more sex than
You would think, but
couples
there
with-
hasn't been studies. So I don't know how to
Somebody
answer
study
that.
Somebody said
Yeah, like, how
I don't
come
have
there
enough time
hasn't
to do that.
Yeah,
Get on
That'd
that.
be a good little research project.
absolutely. To go on there and just say, okay, yeah, how often are you? Or when you're not, we don't have children, you don't have that responsibility.
And then from the men, I was hearing of course, they want to have sex like every other day, every day, whether they're husbands, have children, don't have children, and they just want to go and have sex and be done with it. And the women still want the foreplay and the whining and dining, and they don't care that it's 5 or 10 years later. They still need that.
Absolutely.
And from what I was hearing from both parties, that's the problem. The
That's
guys,
where they butt heads.
right? The guys are like, "Come on, bend over," and the woman is like, "Well, kiss me first.
Yeah.
Tell me I look pretty."
Yes.
So,
Did you hear the
What do
same
you-
thing?
I didn't get that question.
no.
Okay.
It's like
I
just
can-
for me
I can
putting.
see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like guys are like, "Well, what's the big deal? We've been having same sex for X amount of years," and they just like they almost like suck the magic out of it. And the women that I spoke to want the magic still, even though it's been 5 years or 10 years or whatever.
Absolutely. So there's a saying that was brought up that men emotionally connect while they're having sex. That's where now they emotionally bond with the significant other.
Okay.
For women, that happens beforehand.
Right.
So that's where again they're missing each other.
So the women in foreplay. The
Foreplay
man
like
during-
all day, like
Okay.
telling you how beautiful you are,
That's where the
telling
woman
you,
connects.
yeah, that's where now there's an emotional connection
That's
all
what
throughout
makes
the day.
the woman want to give up the sex.
Yes. So like at
Make
the
me
end of the
feel
day,
good for the day.
if he hasn't contacted her, if there hasn't been any text messages, if there hasn't been like even touch or words if you need words, and then at 11:59 you think that, oh, okay, now I'm horny,
Right.
take off all your
Game
clothes,
time.
now it's game time, then that's where there's a miss all the time.
Got you. That makes sense.
So a tip for all you guys that are always thinking or feeling like, how come my lady doesn't want to have sex or doesn't want as much as I do? It's because you're not presenting the type of sex that she wants.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're so deep.
And I want a lot of women to take the burden off of them. Like they'll come to my office and they'll say, Damaris, like, what's wrong with me? Give me medication. How come I don't want sex as much as my husband or my boyfriends? And once I ask the questions, there's nothing wrong with your body. Like they feel like they're defective in some way.
Are they not attracted to me anymore?
Yeah, it's like,
or whatever?
what's wrong with me? Like there's something wrong with me. Just give me the pill so that I can want it as much. But then when I'm asking questions, that's happening at 11:59. There's like 2 seconds of a peck, 2 seconds of each nipple. They go down maybe, right? Because that's a big one that comes up.
Is it your birthday or not?
Yes, very, very little time allotted for like oral, and then there's immediate penetration where she's dry. Now it becomes painful, and now it just becomes like I'm
It's
just a
not
vessel
fun.
being used.
Right. It's
Right.
just like, get off of me.
So when they describe that to me, then I say there's nothing wrong with your body, and I have them actually try it out the way that it was in the beginning, where he dedicates a good like 20 minutes of making out and grinding and doing all that yummy pre stuff. Her body responds automatically. She
Right.
doesn't need no medication. She doesn't
And
need
then comes the
Viagra.
WAP.
Yes. Like, yeah. But for a lot of women, they put that pressure.
Sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys are just ready to go all the time.
Do you have the flip of where women are coming in and the man is feeling used, whereas the woman is like, let's go. And
Right.
he's like,
what are you waiting for?
What's happening?
And he wants to,
need
he
calm
needs
down.
that.
Yes. So that happens where you have the alpha female. I'm hearing that a lot more, where I don't have time for the build up. I'm running a business.
Right.
I'm handling our
I'm
three
busy.
or four businesses. I have employees. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Like the orgasm or the sexual play is just an outlet. So can we just get to it? And then that's where the guys, for the first time, right, they start to feel like a woman.
Like,
even though this has
treating
been
me like a piece of meat?
Yes.
How dare you?
Even though that's norm, right? Like we're supposed to accept that from very early on when our curves kind of kick in, but they don't like that feeling like, wait, now I'm being used.
Right.
And then their ego gets bruised. So then that's where like, okay, then they can't get it up. Then they come to me like, fuck, Damaris, I can't hold an erection. Why? Your body is fine. It's just that, the alpha female's coming in, giving you what you have given every other woman
Right.
all
You got a
those
taste of
years,
their
and
own
now you're
medicine.
uncomfortable with it.
And now she's in charge.
Right.
Yes.
So you used to be in charge. And
Yes.
Now she's in charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So it does. And well, the work as they work with me, it's about balancing, right? Where you can still be the alpha female. That's not going to change. That's the personality that you are. It's working more with him and his ego and letting that go.
Right.
That in her initiating, that is showing you that I desire you. My body's responding to you. And that's where when he starts to see it in those different lights, then it's like his ego calms down. Like,
Okay.
all right, fine. I'm not being
I'm
used
still
like
the
a
man.
piece of...
I'm still the man. They need to know that they're still the man.
Yes, always. And that they are the one that's going to give her the pleasure, not her take it from him.
Right.
Very, very different element. So we're seeing that a lot more because, I mean, a lot of females are getting comfortable with their own, right? Like through the whole
different generation of women.
yes, like
completely
the
different generation.
Oprah, you know, impact where you can be anything you want, you can run your own businesses. We're no longer in that place where we choose to be with someone because of the financial dependence.
Right.
Now it's I'm good. I can take care of my entire home. I can take care of my entire world. I want you to be a part of it. That's very tough on a lot of men's egos that are still kind of like they're still raised in that traditionalism. Like I'm supposed to be the head of the household. No, we can't have
Right.
two.
Why not? Yes, we can. It's
Exactly.
2021.
Absolutely, we can.
But also,
2021.
right, you have a lot more women listening to things that you couldn't listen to a couple years ago, 10,
Right.
15, 20 years ago, right? You mentioned WAP.
Right.
So we're talking Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, even Little Kim when she first came out, Nicki
Just
Minaj,
raunchy.
right? That was the raunchiest album cover you'd ever seen in your life until lately.
So now.
So, are you seeing that also, I guess, partnered with the alpha female? Like,
The empowerment?
now it's, you know, hot girl summer this,
Exactly.
and like WAP that.
It's
and,
okay
you
to be
know,
a strong woman and
Right.
speak out loud and
And say
speak
what
about your
I want.
sexuality, and it's okay now.
Yes.
And men are having a really hard time with that.
Absolutely, especially the ones that are okay with just being single, right? Like not everybody's mission is to end up to get married, right?
Right.
That's wonderful for those, but there's a lot of women that are owning, and especially child-free women. Like that's not the mission. We can share our worlds, but that's not where I need to go. For a lot of men, that is becoming very, very hard for them. And again, it bruises their ego,
Like,
and
do
that's
I
where
fit in your picture,
yeah.
because you don't
need me?
You don't need. No, I want you here, but I don't need you.
Yes,
but
like,
I do
what is my
want you
purpose?
here.
Right.
Yeah. And not to flip it to play devil's advocate, for a lot of women that do want to be married in the future and they use that word too much. I don't need you. That becomes now an attack. Right? It's one thing to
Right.
say, hey, like as we're getting to know each other, look, I'm really, really
Because he
comfortable
knows
in
if
my
he's
world.
observant, he knows that you don't need him.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to say it.
Exactly. So the ones that will throw it in their face, like if they're like, especially in an argument or a disagreement, I don't need you. Like you can go if you want to.
Right.
If you're always throwing that at them, that will prevent. It'll literally be counterintuitive on what you're wanting to get. You're never going to get married. You're never going to have a man say, I want to choose to live my life with you. If constantly you're reminding them, you're disposable.
need you.
I
Right.
don't need you in my
You're
world.
replaceable.
Yes.
Right.
So it's a fine line of sharing that information and then showing them, because men still need to be needed.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing. But now how can you need them? Like that's where you start to show
You
them.
make them feel needed.
Absolutely. And that's where now you cross over into the love languages, where huge
I didn't
advocate.
know how important they were.
Oh my God.
I did not know how important they were until a couple years ago, and I'm like, oh, if I would have known.
It's such a, I mean, every single couple that I start with, that is the first thing that I have them to learn and master. We won't even move on to communication because
Right.
there's always communication issues. We won't even move on until I help them find how to master their individual love languages, because this is where now you show them, yes, I don't need you financially, but this is where I need you. I need you. Like my love language is physical touch and quality time. So in showing like my husband, like this is what I need from you every single day. It's not every once in a while,
This
or like
is
if it's words of
required.
affirmation or helping around the house. Like once you get that clarity, that's where now you're able to help men like, okay, this is where she needs me. And that's where you're able to see like who are the good ones that are invested.
Right.
They're going to learn it, or they're going to fight you every step of the way. Like, well, why do you need help around the house? I just want to touch you. That's your love language. I don't need that. So you don't have to touch me throughout the day. I can touch you. But then that's where now they start to fight each other and trying to kind of like break that.
Right, and I think that's literally what I realized. I was loving someone the way I wanted to be
Yes.
loved, without understanding what he needed. And same thing, he was loving me the way
He
he needed to
needed.
be loved. And I was like, oh, that shit. You need to love me this way. Our love languages are completely different. And then when we figured out, like, okay, this is your love language, this is mine, I felt like I was ready to make the switch. But
You adapted?
Right. He adapted temporarily, and then went right back to what it used to be. And then you just get tired of saying the same shit.
Yes. And that's where now you get to see, are they really invested, or is it just kind of like, I need to get out of jail, so let me just clean my shit up
Right.
for 14 days, let you calm down and let you sugar up
She'll be
again,
back to
and then I
normal.
can go back to where I was.
She won't need this anymore
Yes.
after I do it a couple times.
Yes.
Like, no, it's a requirement.
I try to tell my couples, it's like air, it's like water. You need it every day, and if it isn't given to you in the course of just a 24-hour period, the person instantly starts to feel it. And you start to feel that emptiness. And that's where, unfortunately, they come to my office where when I asked the questions, I was like, wow, you're running on below empty.
Right.
Because there hasn't
Your
been
love
any.
tank is empty.
Completely.
Interesting. How much you charge? Do you accept insurance?
No insurance. So everything in my practice is all private pay. I tell my couples that it is an investment.
And we will definitely put all her information up. So if anybody wants to book a session, you know how to find her. We'll leave it up as a post.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And it is when you factor that divorce is over $10,000 and making an investment on really like investing like let's say 3 to 6 months with me and transforming the relationship. I mean, it's just
You could have saved yourself that divorce lawyer.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it is an investment. I tell my couples that I have some people that will come to the office and be like, I'm here. That's it.
I just came.
Yeah, like this is all the work that I'm going to
I'm
do.
here.
I showed up, with all this, aggression and resentment and anger, and I'm like, oh, this is just stage one. Like it's what you do in between my calls that you really able to put in that work. Like, are you taking the information, or are you just like, okay, we get off with Damaris and then we keep moving,
For
and you
whatever
keep doing the
time
same
that
thing
they put in with you, but they don't actually apply it after.
Yeah. So you give them homework
all
Like,
the time.
You need to do
Yes.
this.
Yeah. And I spread out my calls to every 2 weeks now because everybody's really busy. We have a whole bunch of roles that we're handling day to day: work, family, friends, your own personal time. So I give them a good 14 days to put in what we talk about during the call and put it into practice, and then they come back and report.
Okay.
Right, so that's where now it becomes more on the coaching side than the therapeutic side, in the sense that I'm guiding you every step of the way. So what happened in the last 14 days? Well, if you drop the ball, oh, I forgot. Well, then I call you on your shit. Oh, so now you're making excuses. Now, and then I keep bringing it back to the top. Like, is this a priority? You're investing your time and your money. And I'm very big with my couples in the sense that I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your money. So if I see that you guys are not progressing, I'm very quick to be like, oh no, you're not ready to work with me.
Right.
And I will
appreciate
separate
that, yeah.
so that I'm not trying to like keep you there for like a
Right.
year when I know, okay, this person
They're
isn't
not
doing the
ready.
work, or this person doing, because then all it happens is that you're coming to me to report whatever crisis, and then we're doing a crisis call. That's not going to cause any transformation.
And then they're just going to resent you or your practice or your
Right.
teachings, right?
If they're not ready, because
they're
they're gonna be like, I was with her for a
applying it,
year,
but
she
they're
didn't
like,
fix
but it's
nothing.
her fault. Right.
Well, you weren't ready.
That actually hasn't happened. It's actually the backwards, that when I call them out on their stuff and I say, hey, look, maybe I'm not the right fit for you and you guys are not ready, they're like, wait, no, Damaris.
That's
And
probably
then
why it
they
hasn't
want to
happened
hold
to
on.
you, because you do call them out where
Yeah.
there's other people out there that will
Yeah.
probably drag them along
Yeah.
and say like, we can fix this, knowing that they're not doing the work.
Yeah.
And you call them out, so you're not gonna get that because
Yeah.
you do call them out.
That's good.
Yeah, there hasn't been like where, and even if I say, hey, look, let's just take a couple months, do what you have to do, and then I'll say like, let's take 90 days. I'm not going anywhere, right?
Right.
You're still gonna have access to me, and then I'll call them back after the 90 days, and I'll ask them the questions that I always ask, like, how are you doing with the love language? Are you doing it daily? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And when I ask the questions, which I know how to ask now, 21 years, how, right? Then they're like, no. No. Has anything changed? No. Okay, so you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give it
You
more
haven't
time.
put the work in.
No.
Yeah.
They're just
And
waiting for you to fix it in that session, and that's it.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, if I could do that, if I could make that magic happen, I'll be a
Ooh,
billionaire.
for sure. I'd work for you.
I'll be your intake.
Right.
Jackie and Sonia are already waiting on the lines for that.
Oh,
I can't give them health insurance. So I'm like, sorry, I can't give you health insurance.
So have you seen a change in like more couples seeing you during this pandemic, or what have you seen any shift in your practice because of the situation that we're in?
Absolutely. COVID brought up a lot of the issues that couples were ignoring for many years. If you had those couples that are like just living in the same household and disconnected completely, one person will be out on their own the whole day. She would be over here doing her own thing. So it was very minimal one-on-one time. When COVID happened and they were forced, all of that stuff came up to the surface. They weren't able to hide it. So I saw an influx of not only just couples, but men, that they were like, Damaris, like, I fucked up. I did something. And they were actually owning it for a long time before COVID. Maybe in the last 10 years, men were very, very difficult to want to get any support. The ego was there. It was like, I don't need nobody's help. How is she going to help me? Blah, blah, blah. I've seen the transition where now men are owning up like, I'm about to lose the love of my life. I'm about to lose my family and everything we built. Please help me on what I have to do. So COVID just brought that up where there was nowhere to run. So people who were avoidant, right, that don't like to talk. Yeah, it's like, where are you going to go in the bathroom?
The rug, it's coming on and out, all the dust buddies.
Yeah. Where? Like, where are you going to go? You got one in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, one in the bedroom, like trying to figure out where. And a lot of the people that were conflict avoidant, all the anxiety started to kind of pick up because now it's like, where are you running? Now can you tell me?
Let's talk about it.
Why we're not having sex, right? It goes back to sex. Why we're in quarantine. We have nothing else to do but to eat and to sleep. And why are we not making love? All those things were no longer able to be hidden, where it doesn't have to do with the sex. Sometimes it does, but it was more about what we talked about before, where you've been ignoring me for how many years? I haven't been a priority in your world for how many years? Like, we don't travel, we don't go on dates. Like, when's the last time you got me flowers? And all those things started to flood up in the air. And yeah, I saw the practice go even more and more calls.
I figured you had I saw that there was an increase in divorces, so I figured you would be very busy trying to prevent that.
Yes. Divorce went up, like, I think it was like another 30% just in that window this last year, where people who hit their breaking point. That was, you know, there's certain couples that come to my office and they waited too long. Yeah. Where it's just like, oh wow, the emotional damage has been
it's too much,
too severe. There's no rebuilding that. And this is where, either for men or for women, they finally got the strength to say, I don't have to be stuck in this place. We're not in 1950s. I can't choose to look for my happiness. And they finally got the courage to say, I'm out.
I think that's what happened to me.
Okay.
I think that's what happened to me last summer. It was like quarantine hit. There was no more excuses. There was no more going out. I was, working in the office and then working from home and all that. And it was just like, we are not the same person anymore at all. Like, and not a friendship I could see, but a relationship wouldn't. We are just too different, and there's been too much emotional damage. Gotcha. 14 years is a long time, so it's just like that's pretty much what happened. I got the courage to finally be like, all right, rip the Band-Aid off. This isn't gonna work. I need to find my happiness because you can't be I can't put that on you.
Yes.
You can't make me happy. I have to be able to make myself happy. Yes. And I had to learn that.
Yeah.
Like, to try to find happiness in someone else, you're gonna set yourself up for failure. Like, you gotta be able to be happy by yourself.
Big pressure you're putting on someone else. Like, I feel like a piece of shit, or I feel worthless. I need you to fill me every day.
I need you to fix me. That's a lot. That's a lot.
And some people get confused with the love languages and that. They'll be like, well, Damaris, how come I gotta make her happy? That's not what we're talking about. Right. The person still has to be their whole, the individual identity still stays intact. It's about showing as a couple that you show that love language. But some people will use that. Well, you're supposed to make me happy. It's your job. And that's where, again, like, you're just setting it up for disaster every step of the way.
No, that makes sense.
So as a marriage counselor, or I said that wrong?
No, you're good.
No, okay.
Couples therapist. Because some of my couples aren't married,
and
right?
Marriage therapist, right?
Relationship coach.
Or relationship coach. We're going to write these. I'm going to put it, I need to post it. I need to post it.
Production.
We need to post
We need to
The couples are for general, right? Because I have some of my couples that are very committed and they have shared decades together, but they don't have the desire for, like, the paper, the actual process.
Right.
So that's why I kept it very open, whereas the couples therapist versus marriage. Because I have some couples that were like, Damaris, like, can you still see us even though we're not married?
Right.
And I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, I just need you to be. I won't see dating couples. That's a very different element, right? You're still getting to know each other. You're still setting all those boundaries. That there's someone else that specializes in that stage. I'm in the stage where you've invested a good 1 to 3 years and you're sharing your life together, and you're just finding little bumps in the road where I can help you.
Also, if you think you need a therapist for your relationship in the first year,
right?
Maybe it's just the wrong relationship, because
or maybe they don't know how to communicate.
Right,
with
the first
each other.
Year
that's supposed to be like honeymoon.
You're still getting to know each other. Everything's like new. You haven't gone through a stage of anything yet, right? You haven't gone through a tradition of anything yet. So if someone's looking for you after a year, it's like, I don't know.
I know.
Well, I've had some people that they fall in the line of like a little bit in the sense of like they're always forward thinking, right? So they'll come to me and they'll say, Damaris, we're in a good place. Like almost kind of like, and this is where I refer like guy stuff, like an oil change. Like our car is good. We're in a good place. I just want to make sure that we're setting up for the next step. So they're not coming to me with like,
I feel like those couples are so successful. That's so proactive.
Yeah.
yes, that's exactly the word.
I would never think,
Here's my 6-month plan.
Right. I would think I'm going to come to you when I need you instead of I'm going to come to you prior so that I don't need you in 3 years.
Yeah.
So very few, right? We're looking at that 1 to 2% that will come to me in that sense. But other than that, yes, if it's within that 1 year, then it is a red flag because that between that 6 months to studies show up to 3 years, you can stay in that very beautiful honeymoon stage where the pheromones are just flowing and everything is just in a really good place. That it's just like, all right, if you hit a wall that early on, what's going on? Are you incompatible, or are people finally showing their true faces? Right? Because at the beginning, those first 3 to 6 months,
you're the perfect version of yourself.
some people up to a year, they'll stretch you where they have no flaws. They are on point. They are showing perfection. And now they get comfortable and the real self is coming out. The attitude is coming out, or the lack of effort is now coming in.
The impatience and little snippy all those little things that you hid for a good while.
Then they'll be like, all right, Damaris, what's going on? And then, of course, I'm always shining the mirror. What has changed in the last whatever months? And then when they vocalize it, oh, okay, this is why. Okay, so you weren't showing the real side. Now, let's get to know the real side, the good, the bad, and the in-between. Can they see you in this place?
Right. And I feel like there's been a lot of like memes going on lately that says like, if you introduce me to an energy, you need to be able to keep that. So in other words, be yourself from the beginning so that in a year I don't find out that, oh, this is not you. You're not ready to give me my love language, or you were just doing that to, to hook me pretty much. So like, keep that same energy.
My favorite Dollar Tree find was a sign that says keep that same energy.
Right, keep that same energy. If you're even just like for men or women, if you first start dating somebody and you wine and dine them and you take them to 5-star restaurants, but you financially really can't afford that, but you were trying to impress that person. And now you've done that for a year, and then you finally have the conversation like, hey, listen, I'm in debt right now. I can't continue to take you to 5-star restaurants. Honey, that was the energy you introduced me to. You should have been taking me to Red Lobster instead. Like, figure it out.
I have grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
Accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Yeah. So yeah, like I always tell people, be your authentic self, because it's gonna come out eventually. You can't be that person forever.
Right.
It's definitely gonna come out eventually.
But it's very terrifying because if you're showing people your true self from day one, then you always have the risk of them rejecting you. Right. And so as individuals, when we're getting to know our spouses, we're showing them, okay, this is the best that I can provide for you. This is what I can bring to the table. But it's always with that fear, like, oh my goodness. Like me telling Tony, babe, I don't cook. Like, oh my goodness. Like, if that's what you're wanting, like, I know, your mom raised you wanting a wife that would be home at 5 and would provide you a dinner 5 days a week. Like, you will die waiting for me. And I was terrified as I shared that. Like, to say that. Yeah, like I'm done at 10 and I'll have cereal and call it a day. Like, no, like, but I was very terrified. Dinner is not really
like an adult dinner most of the time, but you didn't want to have to decide.
Or learning it in college, like I cook and freeze my food. Like if I can freeze like meat sauce, I have food for a month. But like, but that was something that in sharing with him, I was very, very terrified. Like, but I knew that I couldn't be fake in that sense. I wasn't
for you.
I hate cooking so much that the thought of cooking for him every day to show him this side of me was going to be like, it was so against who I am.
Like taken away from yourself.
Yes.
Was that a conversation that he maybe brought up to you, or you already knew that that's how he grew up, and I need to let him know, like, that's...
I can't do that.
That's not how this is going to continue. Like, was it a conversation ahead of time, or was it like a realization to you and you were like, wait a minute, I tell you this.
I knew this early on, so I had to, in everything that I've learned in my dating experience, I felt comfortable in putting it on the table before things got too serious. That I was like, all right, look, I came now in the sense where I felt comfortable in my own skin, that I was like, I'm going to put my stuff on the table, no pressure. and no hard feelings if I'm not the right for you. And that was one of the things that I was like, hey babe, just heads up, like, is this important to you? And I asked him that, and I was like, you don't have to answer now, like, you think about it, but I mean, if we're talking about
how important is
long
this
term,
to you, right?
This is not going to change. If I can eat out 7 fucking days a week, I will eat out, right? And having my own business and having my own practice, right? Like, it allows for that. But I know that some people, that is important, and I would never want to take that away from him. So yeah, it was something that I put on the table in addition to other stuff that make me.
I won't do this.
That makes me like, these are not, like, please don't expect these things. And then just giving him the space that, there was a possibility that he could say, hey babe, like, I love you, but I want this. But that took a lot of like inner work to feel that comfortable to put my skeletons on there and be like, this is a part of who I am.
And I think I'm in like the opposite phase of my life. After that last relationship, I am dating and I'm meeting people, and I'm just completely honest. I'm like, listen, I'm a hot fucking mess. So this is just what it is. But I've been so brutally honest just because I'm like, I don't have time for games.
Yes.
I don't want you to be surprised later on, like, oh, I came to your apartment for the first week and everything was tip-top shape and you had cooked for me and all that, and then a year later you're a hot fucking mess. No, I'm letting you know that now, so you're not surprised. And if you can't handle that, that's fine. But I'm not introducing you into a person that I'm not. Like, I'm a mess. I have a short temper. I can be impatient, but I can also be very loving. And we can sit on the couch all day, or we can go out. Yeah. But I put all that out on the table, and then they can digest that or not. But I just don't. Because I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying
another
to avoid
14 years of your life being invested, and not having that turnaround, like that return on investment.
For that, I think, although I didn't know it then, I knew what my love language was. I knew that I needed affection. I knew that I needed certain things. I didn't know that it was called a love language. But for a very long time, I said, okay, well, how important is this to me? And I kept minimizing it. Like, oh, it's 50% important to me. All right, well, he does X, Y, and Z. So maybe I won't bother him with, a hug or a kiss because he does this, this, and this. Yeah. So I was compromising, but I was compromising with myself.
Yeah.
And I just can't do that anymore. So I'm just like, this is what it is. If you can't deliver, I'm on to the next. Like, I don't have time for bullshit. 14 years, I'm 32, I'll be 33 this year. 2020 and 2021 has showed us life is short. I don't have time. So the energy that you meet, I will keep.
Yes.
I didn't realize that in my 15-year bid that my love language was touch, because you guys know me. Don't touch me.
That's why I didn't kiss her, because I know that Joss, right? Like, she doesn't. It's not something she needs from like the friends, like, outside.
Right. But in your relationship,
that was the awakening.
That was like, wait, I like that, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like touch me on the shoulder, and I'd be like, wait a minute, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. And then like touch me again, but like not sexually, right? Just like those
just like let me know that you see me
passing by, right? Like the hand on the back of the hip, or the back of the back.
That's a thing. That's a thing. Yes, that is a thing.
So I'm like, oh, okay. So now I realize that that's my love language, and we share that same love language because we both do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't pass by and touch me or whatever, I'm like,
do I gotta lift my TikTok leggings up a little bit higher? Like, what's going on? How dare you walk by me and not slap you in the leg?
You don't see this?
You don't see all of this?
So that was something I learned. Okay. And the fact that he reciprocates that, has the same love language, has been like everything to us.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah. Like, if you have the same love language, right? Like, it's easy. Like, it's not, you don't need the work in trying to adapt. Mm-hmm. It's where my couples have the polar opposite. Like, let's say if you have someone that's physical touch and the other person is acts of service, it's really, that's where it becomes
literally the last relationship.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Literally polar opposites.
Okay,
so tell me acts of service.
Acts of service is where they help you in any way, and the main part that it comes up in relationships is like in the household, where they do the dishes or cooking, taking the car to get to the mechanics, oil change. It's whatever favor. Like, hey babe, can you take the dog out? That is acts of service. Okay. So yeah, like for people who have that, and then the other person to have physical touch, right? Like, that does take work, because as you've seen, right? How many times have I touched y'all in the last like however long, right? Like, it's literally an active, just like working out, right? Like, put it in that reference, like If you're working out, if you're training, it's something that becomes a muscle that you're using every day. That's where now you show the other person how much I value you, how important you are to me, that I'm going to learn it and I'm going to practice it. It's not going to be something that, I'll try for a couple days. Because again, like you said before, it never goes away. Very, very few times, and these are different relationships, like when you have a baby, sometimes the love language will shift where they're so exhausted with the little one that they're like, I don't even give a fuck about the fucking quality time. Can you please help me with the goddamn Pampers?
Pick up that baby exercise.
So those are far few in between. But other than that, like when your love language is set, that's never going to shift. So it's really finding a partner that will take the time to understand it and master it. Like I'm very big on using that word. It's not something you can just practice and do it every once in a while or like special occasions.
Right.
It has to be every day. Like you're feeding them every day. And are you going to put in that work or not?
Right. Because it is like a muscle, right?
It
is
is
like working out. That comparison where you're not going to get a bicep by doing one curl, right?
No,
you have to do it constantly until it becomes a habit and just something that you become that is just something you do. Yeah. But you also have to give that person enough time.
Yes.
Right. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yes.
But also, I gave you enough time.
Right.
Like,
you got to know when to just be like, okay, now, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because it's been X amount of weeks or months since we
and you
had
keep
the
falling back into that trap.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, there has to be that balance where when when my couples are working with me, that I'll have some person saying, yeah, like this, let's say they've been together for 10 years. I have to undo all of the patterns you both have settled into in 10 years.
Because it's easy to fall right back into.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So then it's literally telling them like, yes, in the beginning, you're going to hear my voice. Damaris gave us homework. Damaris told us to do this.
Damaris said.
Yes, right? That's always in the beginning. But what I tell them is that if they are able to master it, if they are able to be consistent, my voice will disappear and it will become second nature. Just like for you, right? In working out, in transitioning, that now, I think if you go a day without working out, your body's like, wait, what's going on, right?
You skipped something.
Yes. It will happen that if you dedicate that time to really put it into practice, then yes, my voice disappears and now it really just becomes something beautiful. It's just like, all right, what can I do for my queen today? Or what can I do to show him how much I adore him? And when you come from that dynamic, I mean, how can you have resentment?
Right.
How can it be like, oh my God, he would fucking go, I gotta touch this person. Or I gotta do the dishes.
Smack her on the ass again, Jesus.
Now, one mistake that people do when it comes to the love language is that they'll hold it as a punishment. Right. So in the beginning, when they're working with me, they're like, okay, right. They're happy. I'm showing them. I'm giving them examples. That's the work, right, in the beginning. And then it's saying, okay, now the homework is to do it one thing every day and putting it into practice. And let's say one person, because we're human, right? And we're undoing a lot of old habits. So in the beginning, I'm looking for like, oh shit, I forgot. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I'm looking for the sincerity. Like, my bad. Like, I really am sorry. Or like, just get over it. Like, why you need, like I'm looking for those cues.
Nonchalant. Like.
Yes. So like, let's say if that does happen and the other spouse picks up on it, right? Because again, you feel it like, why has my husband not touched me today? Then they're like, oh, well then fuck you then. Now I'm going to, and then they dedicate time. Like, now I'm going to fucking punish you for the next 3 days. And then when the other person feels it, like, babe, I've noticed you haven't done this. They never expressed it. One, they never like helped the other person say, hey babe, like today I noticed you didn't do A, B, and C. Now the explosion comes where it's just like, well, you didn't fucking touch me 3 days ago, so why do I have to? And then it goes into
now we're right back where we started.
Walked by 3 days ago, so fuck you.
Now they're like paying each other back.
Yeah, so now we're using it as tit for tat, and that is a big mistake when we're talking about like really studying that in. Because I want you to have compassion for your significant other. That let's say if there is that one time that Kyle's preoccupied and see that asset and walks by. It's you letting him know, like when you're in bed or you're cuddled up in couch with him and be like, babe, you walked by and you didn't touch my tushy. Like, it don't got to be an argument, but you could bring it to the attention and he'd be like, oh my God, babe, I'm so sorry.
It's how you say it.
Yeah, it's like, I was on my phone. And then it gives you the reassurance, like, he didn't see my ass and ignore me. And then he'll make sure that the next time.
Not see this ass.
Or this ass.
The next time he'll make sure to grab it, right? But it's giving him compassion and patience, like bringing it up to his attention. And same thing on your behalf as well when you're learning their stuff.
Yeah, I noticed. I think it was 2 days ago. Whenever one of us leaves, so 2 floors house, right? whenever one of us leaves, we could be going upstairs. If the other one's downstairs, love you, right? Coming downstairs, love you. He went upstairs and I'm like, excuse me?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Notice, right? Excuse me?
Immediately.
He's like, what happened? I know something didn't happen. I'm like, you didn't say I love you when you went upstairs. He was like, I knew there was something.
I knew I was missing something.
But see how he owned it? Like, you see how he didn't fight, like, in
He
me.
didn't take that as me saying, yo, you didn't,
Right.
you know
Yes.
what I mean? Because I didn't say it that way.
That
Yes.
way. Right.
So no defensiveness, no, like, standoffish or nothing. Like, there's where, you know, just in being visual, like, I would see that. I'd be like, beautiful that you didn't hold it in, because it would have fucked with your mood the whole rest of the evening. It was just being able to vocalize it right there. You fixed it. It shows him how important it is, and he brings it right back into
He was
motion.
sincere. He took accountability.
And your mood doesn't just affect you, because now they can feel your mood.
The
They
whole
can feel that
energy in the
Yep.
Feel
house
that.
For sure.
changes.
Like, she is pissed, but I don't know
I
why.
don't
I'm
know
not
why.
asking.
I am staying upstairs.
Like, come on, snack. Well, fly.
Do I offer a
Touch the
cupcake?
butt.
Right. What can I do?
Do I offer your favorite meal? Like, do I give you a present? Yeah,
Like, just nip it in the bud so it doesn't gloom over you and the whole household.
yes. So one big thing that comes, like what you just mentioned, brought up that a lot of couples will get in trouble where they'll come at me. He should know by now. She should know by now. We've been fucking dating for 13 years, whatever the time is, right? Whenever, if you're listening to this, if you're watching it, whenever you catch yourself saying a statement with the word should, you just imposed your expectation onto your significant other, and you just hurt the relationship.
Yep.
And that comes out pretty fluid, where it's just like, they should know me by
guilty.
now.
I'm guilty of that, for sure. How long have we been together? You should know. You should know.
You should know, yes.
You should know how I like my burgers done. You should know what I expect when I go. But on the flip side, you always hear, well, I'm not a mind reader.
Absolutely. And that's a common one that comes up for a lot of women. They really want it. They really want the guy to be a mind reader. And, you know, they say, I've given them hints. Guys don't work. Guys do not.
I had to learn that the hard way.
Men do not work in the gray. We live in the gray. I can pick up on each of your cues. I can pick up on each of your words. Like, if you say something and we're going shopping and I see you point something out, I'm like, okay, birthday. Okay, something this, right? I got that, right? Like, I'm paying attention. Men don't work on that. They work on black or white. Tell them what you need. Set them up to be there for you and to show you I'm listening to what you're saying. But when you put them in that gray area, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
But again, something that I figured out.
Damaris said, you're supposed to tell me what you want for your birthday.
Yes,
I'm
like,
not
you know,
supposed to
give
Damaris
give
said,
it.
we black and white, not gray.
Yes. Help them out. Put a whole bunch of presents on Pinterest and let them pick out, but they know that they're going to hit the mark, right? There's some guys that are like, they like shopping, but there's some of them that are like, Damaris, I'm fucking clueless. Like, I adore this woman, but I know that I'm going to fuck it up, and I'm going to come in there with like a hanger rack, like, and make her feel like a piece of crap. Like, set them up for that. And a lot of women get stuck. This is where Hollywood gets in the way. Well, in the movies, like, she doesn't have to tell them. They don't show you that conversation.
Right.
In the movies, they do this, and wine and dine.
Prince Charming just came in Disney, okay?
Automatically.
He didn't know nothing else.
Yeah. You think that whoever wrote that script didn't have a woman telling them, put this scene in there, like, put this scene in there, like, but yeah, they put those expectations onto their significant other, and they're like, well, they should know, or how come I got to tell them how to love me? In the beginning, they knew. Well, no. In the beginning, you were feeding each other on all different cylinders. Words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, receiving gifts. You were getting fed on all cylinders. When that's happening, which is a beautiful thing, when there's a disagreement or a conflict you hit, you're able to get past it easier. Why? Because you're feeling so loved.
Right.
Now, flip that, and you're like on minus 10%, running on empty. Everything pisses you off. They can pick the wrong fucking milk.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll be like, are you serious?
Ready to murder somebody.
And you
don't drink 2% here.
Exactly. Like, how
Do
dare
you even live here?
How dare you? And then
Again,
now
guilty. I was famous as well. Guilty.
we're hitting all the relationship
This is a
mistakes.
session for me.
And that's a wrap on part 1. Come back next week for part 2. Thanks for listening.